Welcome to my bold and beautiful today's show channel. I hope today fantastic for everyone. Please hit the subscribes button and give this video thumbs up. Ridge refused to leave Taylor for Brooke, and Liam moved in with the Finnegans. The Forresters and Logans basked in the glorious aftermath of the fashion show. The designs were a hit, as was the perfume line and the jewelry. However, Eric was more focused on reuniting Brooke and Ridge and went so far as to argue with Ridge about it. Eric told Ridge that he'd made a big mistake leaving Brooke and getting together with Taylor. And Eric told Brooke and Katie that he respected Taylor Hayes, but she wasn't Brooke. Ridge made it clear to everyone that he was committed to Taylor, but Brooke told a reporter that she and Ridge might get married, so that went over well with Taylor and Steffi, who, thanks to smug Logan sisters, realized that the showstopper moment was a reunion tactic. Ridge told Eric to stop playing God with his life and that he was happy with Taylor, but Eric told him to dump her and go back to Brooke because he figured that's how it would end anyway. Hope admitted to Brooke and Carter that she was starting to see that they may have gone about things incorrectly when they took Forrester. Brooke told Hope that she wanted Ridge back. Hope said she was sorry that she was the reason they had broken up, and that she would support her mom's choices. Liam moved into Steffi and Finn's, but was still insistent on keeping his condition a secret. Steffi is adamant that Hope needs to know, but given the chance for a conversation, all Liam wanted to talk about was her and Carter reuniting, and he encouraged her to do so. Carter entertained Daphne's praises and kisses, but told Hope, Brooke, and Ridge that he wanted Hope back. Hope was hesitant but let him come over to plead his case some more after Liam told her to. Carter and Brooke tried to convince Ridge to rehire Hope, but he didn't want to talk about it. Katie saw Daphne kissing Carter, and if she wasn't steamed enough, she overheard Daphne and Zende talking about how Daphne was hired by Steffi to break up Hope and Carter. Daphne admitted that's why she came to town, but denied using Carter as she had fallen in love with him. Steffi can't keep Liam's secret, visits Hope to spill truth. The bold and the beautiful reveal that Steffi Forrester will find she can't keep Liam Spencer's secret any longer, so she'll decide to visit Hope Logan to spill the truth. At Brooke Logan's house, Hope is in the middle of an important discussion with Carter Walton. Since Hope finally reached out, Carter is hoping that means she's open to fixing their relationship. Hope hasn't committed to anything yet, but it's clear that Liam's advice had an effect on her. Although Hope doesn't know it, part of Liam is trying to make sure she's okay once he's gone. Liam really feels like Carter could be the right guy for Hope, so he's counting on them to patch things up and move forward together. Will Hope confess to Carter that she's indeed willing to give their romance another chance? Will Carter and Hope's conversation be interrupted before Hope can reveal that decision? Regardless, B&B spoilers say Steffi will indeed show up at the door soon and admit she needs to talk to Hope about something. Carter might hope that Steffi's had a change of heart about Hope's Forrester return and quickly make himself scarce. Steffi just suggested to John Finnegan that her issues with Hope seem so trivial now. Despite the problems Hope and Steffi have had with each other, they have at least one thing in common since they both care about Liam. Steffi knows Hope is going to be just as devastated as her when she gets updates on Liam's brain tumor. Liam doesn't want to be a burden to Hope when she's already had so much going on, but Steffi realizes Hope deserves to be in the loop on his condition. That's why Steffi will take matters into her own hands and arrive to break the news to Hope about Liam's fatal condition. Steffi will start crying as she confesses she's there to talk about Liam, so Hope will immediately grow fearful. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say Steffi may admit Liam's dying and fill Hope in on his medical team's glum predictions. Nick Marone returns to rekindle things with Taylor, not Brooke. It has been more than a minute since bold and the beautiful Nick Marone last clashed with his half-brother, Ridge Forrester, and found himself stuck between Brooke Logan and Taylor Hayes. At one point in time he was running Forrester Creations and married to both women, plus Bridget Forrester, as well. By the time Nick left town he had worn out his welcome, and his options for love. Nick has decided to come home to stay for the first time in over a decade. It has been 13 years since Nick was last a regular feature in the world of Forrester Creations, and perhaps it was word of the messy company coup by Carter Walton that has made him decide that it's time to return. The company is back in the hands of the Forrester family, but Nick is ready to keep a closer eye on things. Business isn't the only thing that's on Nick's mind. He left behind 3 failed marriages when he decided he needed a fresh start, but one of his exes has left a permanent mark on his heart. Taylor. Brooke is available, but it's Taylor that Nick wants. After being the showstopper at the latest Forrester Creations fashion show and wearing a dress nearly identical to the magical Portofino dress from decades ago, Brooke was sure that Ridge was going to come back to her. Instead, for the first time in his life, Ridge decided to honor a commitment that he had made to a woman and stay with Taylor. Everyone is shocked by Ridge's decision, but for now, his life is with Taylor. This has left Brooke brokenhearted to say the least. She considers Ridge to be her destiny, and the thought of moving on has been pretty impossible to her, until she sees Nick again. Brooke is single, and if she needs to start to move on with her life, then Nick might be a great start. The problem is, Nick doesn't want to pursue another romance with Brooke this time around. He wants to reconnect with Taylor. The best way for Nick to push Ridge's buttons is to want Taylor back. The half-brothers have a contentious relationship. At Biz. Ridge and Taylor giving things another try isn't about to stop Nick from pursuing her as well. Ridge will lose his mind just at the very thought of Nick making a move on Taylor. This situation also causes Brooke to spiral even more. In her mind, Taylor is currently stealing all the men on her radar. How will Brooke handle things? Will she maintain her sobriety? Brooke is heartbroken when Ridge still chooses Taylor over her. Eric Forrester was sure that if he had Brooke Logan as the showstopper in the latest Forrester Creations fashion show, his son wouldn't be able to resist the memories. Eric modernized that infamous Portofino gown that Brooke wore all of those years ago, and they both expected Ridge Forrester to crack and return to his Logan. Ridge was blown away by the showstopper. Seeing Brooke in that gown did indeed bring back a million memories for Ridge. He never stopped loving her, he simply felt betrayed when she took the CEO position at Forrester Creations during a hostile takeover. Even though all is well that ends well and the company is back in its proper hands, Ridge's ego still can't seem to forgive the supposed love of his life. The couple has broken up several times over the last 30 years, but they inevitably have always found their way back to each other. That is their pattern, and both Eric and Brooke believed that her walking in this dress would do the trick. The energy was there and Ridge felt all of the emotions and magic of the moment, but this time he isn't caving in. Ridge decides to honor his commitment to Taylor. Ridge is known for flip-flopping between Brooke and his ex-wife, Taylor Hayes. On the heels of every split with Brooke comes a rebound reunion with Taylor, and this time around it happened within hours. Ridge ran back to Taylor, hopped into bed with her and started to plan their future immediately. It all happened so fast that there was no way that Ridge was going to stick with her, until he decided for once in his life, to honor a commitment. Even seeing his Logan in that dress isn't enough for Ridge to dump Taylor this time. Instead, he is digging in his heels and reminding both Eric and Brooke that he is currently in a relationship. Even Taylor was starting to become insecure as she saw the writing on the wall, but for once in his life, Ridge isn't going to abandon her in favor of Brooke. At least not yet. How long do you think that Taylor and Ridge's romance will last this time around? The Bold and the Beautiful, the fashion show may have ended in roaring applause and glittering success, but backstage and beyond the runway, personal lives began to unravel just as quickly as the fabric that once held together the fragile alliances and long-standing rivalries among the Forresters, Logans, and Finnegans. Ridge Forrester's jaw-dropping decision to remain with Taylor Hayes rather than return to Brooke Logan sent tremors through the entire family tree, shaking Brooke to her core, confusing Steffi, and infuriating Eric Forrester who, despite his outward respect for Taylor, could not fathom a world where his son would end up with anyone other than Brooke. Ridge's refusal to heed Eric's advice marked a rare moment of stubborn fidelity in a man known more for his romantic indecisiveness than his steadfastness, and this new conviction blindsided Brooke, who had waltzed down the runway in an updated version of the iconic Portofino gown, fully expecting it would seduce Ridge back into her arms. But Ridge was resolute, even as memories of Italy and decades of passion swirled around him. He saw Taylor's loyalty, her enduring love, and her belief in him when no one else would, and for the first time in his tumultuous love life, he decided to stand still instead of spinning in the endless Logan Hayes carousel. This decision didn't go over well with Brooke, who felt publicly humiliated and privately betrayed, not only by Ridge, but also by Eric, whose scheme to recapture Bridge harmony had failed and left her exposed. Meanwhile, in the Forrester living room, Eric pleaded his case to Ridge, accusing him of making a mistake and practically demanding he dump Taylor on the spot, but Ridge responded with quiet fury, telling his father to stop playing God with his heart. Katie and Brooke consoled each other in the aftermath, with Katie offering sympathetic but pointed observations while Brooke admitted that, despite all she had been through, she still saw Ridge as her destiny. Hope Logan, watching her mother unravel, owned up to her own role in the heartbreak. She expressed remorse for seizing control of Forrester with Brooke, a move that fractured alliances and lit the fuse on Ridge's retreat into Taylor's arms. Hope, mature and measured, offered support and a listening ear, while Brooke obsessed over Ridge and her belief that the fashion show was supposed to be their romantic reunion, not a finale. Simultaneously, Liam Spencer was facing a ticking clock of his own, his secret brain tumor, which he had vowed to keep hidden, especially from Hope, lest she fall back into old patterns out of pity or obligation. Instead of returning to his old life, Liam took refuge with Steffi and Finn, moving in with the Finnegans under the pretense of co-parenting, though his unspoken goal was emotional distance mixed with silent observation. Steffi, already suspicious, found it impossible to sit idly by as Liam suffered alone. Despite his pleas, she knew Hope had a right to know the truth. Every time Liam opened his mouth, it was to steer the conversation away from himself and toward Steffi's romantic life, even encouraging her to reunite with Carter, a suggestion that made her question whether Liam had given up on everything, even love. Hope, meanwhile, found herself caught between past and present as Carter Walton returned to her orbit with apologies, admiration, and regret, determined to rekindle what they had lost. Daphne, the woman who had sidled up to Carter with praise and flirtation, was quickly revealed to be more than a distraction. She was a plant, hired by none other than Steffi Forrester to ensure that Hope and Carter never got back together. Katie, ever the sleuth, overheard Daphne and Zende discussing the scheme, and though Daphne admitted to the initial deception, she insisted her feelings for Carter were now real. The revelation sent ripples through Hope's already unstable emotional foundation, especially as she debated whether to open her heart to Carter again, only to be interrupted by Steffi's teary-eyed arrival at Brooke's door. As Carter stepped out, believing Steffi might be softening her stance on Hope's return to Forrester, the truth came crashing down. Steffi couldn't keep Liam's condition a secret any longer. Her voice cracked and her resolve shattered as she told Hope that Liam was dying. The words hung in the air, breaking Hope's heart into 1,000 unsalvageable pieces, the same way her mother's had cracked upon seeing Ridge walk away. Hope reeled, asking if it was terminal, if there was any chance, and Steffi, clutching a tissue and shaking her head, relayed what little she knew from Liam's medical team. Grim predictions, accelerated symptoms, and a looming sense of finality. For once, all animosity between the two women fell away. Their rivalry, their shared pain, their love for Liam united them in a grief that neither was prepared to confront. As Hope tried to piece herself back together, she realized why Liam had pushed Carter on her, why he was retreating, and why he had been so fixated on her happiness, because he believed he wouldn't be around to see it. In a cruel twist of fate, while Hope was being pulled into the deepest sadness of her life, Brooke was being dragged through a different kind of heartbreak, the return of Nick Marone. After more than a decade away, Nick's reemergence in Los Angeles set off alarm bells across the canvas. Once married to Brooke, Bridget, and Taylor, Nick had left town a burnt-out romantic wreck, but he returned with clarity of purpose and a new objective: reignite his connection with Taylor, not Brooke. This revelation stunned everyone, especially Brooke, who had always counted on Nick's soft spot for her to be an ace in the hole should things with Ridge fall apart. But not this time. Nick, older and more intentional, had seen Taylor at the fashion show in a dress that transported him back to their time in the Mediterranean, and he couldn't stop thinking about her. He had heard about Ridge's loyalty to Taylor and, like many others, assumed it wouldn't last, but this only fueled his fire. The best way to get under Ridge's skin was to woo Taylor, and Nick wasn't shy about his intentions. Ridge bristled immediately despite his supposed commitment to Taylor. The idea of another man circling her, especially Nick, drove him mad. The love triangle, or square, rather, simmered into full boil, with Ridge feeling possessive. Taylor